Mayor here for you to answer any questions that you want and to tell you the things that are hidden from you. That's our job. We're here to uncover the cover up. Man, it's a big job. It's not mine alone. You got all these other people who are patriots doing the same thing. My friends like Greg Kelly and Mr. Schmidt, and I see Eric Bowling right now, and nobody quite like Mark Levin. But we're still the secondary media, right? I mean, the main media is ABC, CBS, NBC. They're the big network things, diminishing, and they are now state media through and through. The cable ones are even worse. The cable ones are akin to Pravda during the Soviet Union or whatever the state media in China is. I am not certain, and I'm being very serious about this, that China is much more censored than we are, given the Biden administration's close relationship with both social media. And then, of course, CNN and MSNBC are pathetic excuses for propaganda machines. Pathetically lame, lying, false, exaggerated. Oh, my goodness. I don't know how you can watch them. I mean, the best thing to do is to write down what they say and then come, January 6th was an insurrection. No, it wasn't. Since you cannot have an insurrection without anybody bringing a gun to the insurrection, unless the insurrectionists are all a bunch of silly jerks, in which case they're not really insurrectionists, they're silly jerks. You can't go on national television and tell us that the border is secure the way Mayorkas did today. Well, they put him on. He said it on CNN. They didn't contradict him. All you got to do is look at the pictures that are on the several free networks. Free networks meaning Newsmax, OAN. I'll say for that purpose, Fox. Fox is half free and half dominated, half corporate. So today was a tough day because it was January 6th. So they do their January 6th fake news with Biden. And the January 6th fake news is that this was an insurrection caused by Donald J. Trump to overturn the election. That is completely false. It's as false as Russian collusion. It's the same liars who are presenting this to you as Russian collusion. How many times are they going to lie to the American people and have it accepted when the weight of the evidence and common sense is so powerfully against them? They did it with Russian collusion. They did it with the worst and the most evil cover-up in American history as far as an American election was concerned, the hard drive, in which they deprived the American people of information that the commander-in-chief is a crook of 30 years, provable by documents and relevant to our national security, documents available to our enemies in greater number than to us. So then we wonder, he gives away the country to China. Well, China owns him. You would have known that before the election. If it weren't for the same crooks who are trying to sell you on January 6th. I don't know. Do I have to keep going on? Then just think of this. One person died on January 6th in that Capitol, inside the Capitol. 3 others died outside, all Trump supporters, one of whom was clearly killed by the police and 2 others possibly. But none of them killed by the protesters. Nobody was killed by the protesters. The reports of 4 people murdered by the protesters were lies. similar to Russian collusion, similar to Russian disinformation. Exactly how many times does somebody have to lie to you to get it, that they're liars? And how many times do people have to tell you the truth before you trust them? I have been vindicated on every single thing I've said. In some cases, dramatically vindicated. I know many of you trust me. I'm talking to the rest of you. I don't want you to trust me to trust me. I don't know you. You don't know me. I want you to trust me because I've got to get you to believe the following. I have the best interests of this country at heart, unlike no one else. There may be others that have the best interests of the country in their hearts and are working at it as well or as much as I am. And there may be some doing a better job of it. There's nobody that feels it more than I do. I'm not saying there aren't others that feel it as much as I do, and I love those people. But I know there's nobody that exceeds me, and if you show me the person that exceeds me, I'll work even harder. I am so worried for my country. That's why I'm here tonight. That's why I'm on. That's why I started this almost 2 years ago. I don't even remember. Today should be a day in which the name of Ashley Babbitt should pass from the mouth of the President of the United States. If the President of the United States were even a partially decent human being. The President of the United States is a crook. The President of the United States is demented, and the President of the United States is an evil man. Now, I know that sounds harsh, the evil man part, but I want you to consider how he took his son, who had an addictive personality at the age of 17 and 18, and then for the last 40 years of his life, had him do business with the worst criminals in the world, including Whitey Bulge's nephew, including one of the worst murderers in Ukraine, including one of the worst spies in China. You don't do that to an addictive personality. You know what happens to addictive personality when that happens? When you do that, he becomes a habitually degenerate drug addict like his son is. And Joe did it to him. And boy, if you read those text messages like I have, as many times as unfortunately I've had to do it, you can see the bitterness that the son has for the father, particularly when he says to his daughter, texted, which is kept from you, quoted for you. Again, for 30 years, I've been required to pay for all of the expenses of this family, and they still don't respect me. But maybe it'll be different with you. Pop even required me to give him half my salary. Those are the words of co-conspirator and bagman Hunter Biden about his father during the time his father was a senator and a vice president, selling the office of senator and vice president. The commodity of the Biden crime family that made them multimillionaires was selling public office. So when we see them today doing the damage they're doing to our country, we know what it is. I will never rest until we solve the murder of Ashley Babbitt. I do not accept that that was a justifiable homicide, and I know homicide better than the Capitol Police Department. I know crime and prosecution better than the Capitol Police Department, and surely better than the dishonest, crooked state prosecutors. The woman was unarmed. She was 5'2". She doesn't have a record. She's a veteran of the military, honorably discharged, unlike Hunter Biden. She was there because she was protesting an election she had every right in the world to protest, despite what the fascist media tries to do with those of us who question the election. She had every right to do it, and she was doing it for the same reason she put her life at risk for our country in the military which most of the fascist media hasn't done. There is no evidence she even committed a crime upon entering. We don't know if she crashed in or was invited in. We have many pictures of both. We have no picture of her crashing in. And if she did, she'd be guilty of trespass, a crime that is not really even prosecuted in New York, much less you're kept in jail for a minute, as opposed to the people who have been in jail now for a year and a half, the way we incarcerated the Japanese in World War II. Yes, the way we did that, Biden, because you are a miserable, evil man. You know you are, and I know you are, because I have thousands of hours to prove what a degenerate human being you are. And you get up there and now you do this whole thing about January 6th, and these people that you're incarcerating, sure, they did things wrong. Yes, they should be punished. 6 months in jail, 5 months in jail, a ticket, 2 years in jail. Destroy their lives? Why? Because they oppose you? Destroy my life because I oppose you? You're trying. You're not going to do it because I'm stronger than you are. A hell of a lot stronger than you are. First of all, I got my brains. You haven't had brains since the day I met you. How about today? How about today? We're going to go to today in a few minutes, but we got to go to McCarthy and that whole situation also, because I want you to go to my podcast, and I'll rest with that for today. I want you to go to rudygiulianics.com. Ted is now walking off because he's getting tired, but usually Ted says, "What does CS stand for?" What do I say, Ted?
That's right. Welcome to America.
What does CS stand for, Ted?
Common sense.
Okay, I wanted him to answer. I want to see if he knew. You can go do what you have to do now. So the simple fact is, go to rudygiulianics.com. rudygiulianics.com. Spell it right, Giuliani. It's like, did you ever take Latin? I'm going to show you how you understand the most beautiful language in the world. Latin. Second Italian. Giulio Cesare. Giulio Cesare. Julius Caesar. If you were a well-educated young man or woman who took second-year Latin, you read a book about the Gallic Wars. It was written by Giulio Cesare, Julius Caesar. You would then know that Giuliani is spelled this way: Giulio, Giuliani, rather than this way,
so you have
which the uneducated do, because they never took Latin. Of course, now they don't even take English, which is tough. So here's the whole thing, if you want it. Rudy Giuliani, okay, cscommonsense.com. Okay, so go there, and
Can
there.
you quickly go over the connection again between Julius Caesar and what you have above?
Okay, so if you want to know how to spell or pronounce my name,
yes,
I know when you get my name wrong and you do G-U-I,
which I never do.
What some people do.
Never seen it.
Okay, I know they never took Latin. Because if you took Latin, you spent an entire year seeing that name, Giulio. You get used to G-I-U, G-I-U,
okay.
G-I-U. You got to write it out all the time. Chapter 6 of the wars by Giulio Cesare, general at the time, one of the most effective generals in the history of the world. Created 70% of the Roman Empire. So just a little help in trying to overcome.
The mayor is a first-class historian.
The mayor is a basically educated human being, unlike what the poor kids go through today with the Communist Teachers Union destroying our education. I mean, I have kids that can't. They come up to me, they start talking to me. I'm not even sure they know who the president is. Well, the president doesn't know who he is either. So that's, par for the course. So now let's go to the House of Representatives. We've spoken about January 6th. I want you to go to rudygiulianics.com because right there I have a podcast called Who is John Sullivan? Okay. You have to know by next week who is John Sullivan. If you know who is John Sullivan, you'll get the fact that this is a complete fix. This is just like Russian collusion. You could take a look at Ray Epps too, but take a look at John Sullivan. If you figure John Sullivan out, you have just figured out the fourth or the fifth criminal conspiracy by the Democratic Party to destroy Donald Trump. So now let's go to McCarthy. Big movement today, and Ted and I were watching it live because it happened just around the time of my radio show, and that group of what I guess it started it started with 5 people, right? 5 or 6 people, and then it grew to 20, right? And then it was 20 plus a present, so in essence 21, right? And then he could make no progress McCarthy couldn't, in budging that group, for about 11 votes, right? 10, 11 votes. And he was getting some erosion, right? He started up at high as 203, and then he came down. He never got below 200, I'd say that. And wow, it looked like a war of wills, right? And then you had the statements from the let's say the group of 20, we're never going to vote for him. We're never going to vote for him. But if you looked at that carefully, that group, I'll never vote for him, was never more than the original 5 or 6. The others who got on had their objections. And I have to say, obtained enormously helpful concessions that will make us a better country. Now, anybody angry at them, go stuff it. They had every right to do that. They say, well, 200 wanted McCarthy. I would have voted for McCarthy. Maybe I'd have been a little angry at them if I were on the House floor, because I'd be in the heat of the battle, right? But in reflection, I would say, no, they're my colleagues, and they got a point they wanted to make. They don't want these bills anymore that are given to them, and they got 1 hour to vote, and it's 4,000 pages, and it bankrupts the country. These guys were not fighting for chairmanships. They weren't fighting for parking spaces. They weren't fighting for money for their district. I know these people. These people are dedicated patriots. They're not slimy, crooked Democrats. That's what they do. And you can't believe how crooked the Democratic Party is. You can't believe it. In many states, in my state, it's a disgrace how crooked it is. But those 20 people, and I got a little bit, never angry at them, a little bit worried they didn't have a plan. But then when I saw what they were negotiating for, I said, wow, these guys have really accomplished something. They've made some of the changes in the House that haven't been made for 30 years, since Newt, 20 years. And I think Newt was wrong on this one. Hard for Newt to be wrong. I think Newt was wrong to be so angry at him. And I would say to my friend Newt, rethink this a little. I don't think you'd have gotten those concessions without these people putting their necks on the line. They're going to be the heroes here. Now the question is, we got 6 left. I think all the concessions, and when I say concessions, these were not concessions like you get a bridge to nowhere, or you get money for a charity that's going to be run by you, like the Democrats do, like all the Democratic congressmen whose wives are millionaires and stuff, and sons and stuff like that, or like Pelosi's son, and you're not going to do lots of insider trade. You can do more insider trading like the Pelosi's, or take money like the Bidens, or no. These were all very specific things that we need. One vote to put the speakership in doubt, which used to be the case until Pelosi came along and wanted to give herself extra protection so she could be a dictator. Sure, we want party discipline. Sure, but we don't want a dictator either. This is a republic that's built on democratic principles, not the Democratic Party. It's now become a fascist party. So here's what will happen tonight. I believe there is no doubt that Scalise would not have brought them back at 10 o'clock tonight if we don't get a speaker tonight. I don't know if it matters to make predictions about the two, who will be the two that come along. I guess it's pretty clear that Gates has burnt his bridges. Love Matt. Mean it. They tortured Matt. And they tortured Matt for wanting to save our country from what they put us through. Just like they tortured Scalise and they tortured Jordan, and just go on and on and on. A lot of these people. Gosar, Andy Biggs. There's nobody better than Andy Biggs. I think he, because of his seniority and his status in the party, and as a signal that they got what they wanted, I believe Andy will vote for McCarthy, which will get us down to 5. And don't be surprised if Lorraine Babbitt doesn't do the same thing. First of all, her opposition was all, without any question, ideological and issue oriented. She's young. She's enthusiastic. She still believes in reform, thank God, because she's new. She probably went a little further out on a limb than she should have. Not as much as Matt did. And I think in the fullness of time, Matt'll be back there doing great work for us. I think we're going to have a hell of a Republican Congress. I know you see it all differently. This was chaos. This was whatever. These people are serious people. Those 20 people in that group are serious people. So are a lot of the people in the 200. And I respect McCarthy for sticking in there. Really says something about him. This guy didn't back down. Look, he made concessions. If you can't make concessions, if you can't make deals, go into a different profession than being a politician in a democracy. I know we want people to stick with principles. There's nobody more than me that wants that. But there's a fine line here. In a democracy, you can't have it all your own way. And in a democracy that is as pluralistic as ours, you damn well can't have it your own way. The greatest president of the United States, with the possible exception of Abraham Lincoln, and I didn't know Abraham Lincoln. I did know this one. He used to say, my 80% friend is not my 20% enemy. I would like to give that speech to them tonight and the Republican caucus when it's all over. My 80% friend is not my 20% enemy. Meaning, if you and I can agree on 80% of the times, we got a nice partnership and coalition. And if we don't disagree on some things, we're probably jerks. I used to tell people, I disagree with myself about 10% of the times. Right? Don't you? You don't change your mind? Thanks. Real question is, when politicians change their minds, we distrust them so much, we call it lying and a lot of times, unfortunately, it is. You take a guy like Romney, who changed every position he had when he ran for president. That's when I ran. Romney changed his life. He was pro-gun control. He changed his position on gun control. Okay, all right. But then he became a lifetime member of the NRA. Okay, Romney, let's not overdo it, okay? You obviously are not that anti-gun control that and how do you become a lifetime member of the NRA when you're 50 years old? It just means you want to, jerk around with me, right?
Thanks for joining
Yes,
us. America's Mayor Live with America's Mayor Rudy Giuliani.
but there's only one. But
hour.
among those people in the House, there are very few thank God there are very few Romneys.
So, Mayor, of course, we are expecting the House to reconvene this evening at 10 p.m. Eastern. As you said, Mr. McCarthy, Scalise, and his top supporters must feel very confident if they were to do this. I mean, can you imagine calling everyone back for a Friday 10 p.m. vote, only to have it go down?
Yeah, it's the only way to resolve. I used to say this to my great friend and partner, Peter Malone, who was the Speaker of the City Council. He and I could figure a budget out. I mean, we actually only had one big battle over a budget that went to court, and he was running for governor then and wanted to spend too much money. He'll disagree, but that was my version. But it was my best year because I froze the budget, and I was able to cut it more than ever because for 6 months I didn't have a budget, so I went on the old budget. But in any event, that's a different story. But Peter and I pretty much had the budget figured out in April. We'd always sign it the last hour, the last minute at midnight, having terrible negotiations for 2 days, staying up all night. Our people did. And Peter and I knew within about 3 pennies where it was going to come out. But we always had to let them do that. They would never agree until the same thing with labor negotiations. I don't even know why you have them until 2 hours before the strike, and then everybody settles. Same thing with going to trial. When do you think trials settle? When the lawyers get nervous that they may have to try a case, because 90% of the lawyers are too cowardly to try a case. That's why I was such a great lawyer, because I wasn't. Last U.S. attorney, I believe, in the Southern District of New York to try a case in court before a jury. A RICO case against politicians. And I won it. That's why when I tell you we can put a RICO case against the Biden crime family together, it's not coming from an amateur.
Isn't that the truth? We were talking to America's Mayor Rudy Giuliani, who, before he was even mayor, had already built a career for himself and
putting criminals like Biden in jail.
And to the point where
which is why I don't respect him or his criminal family.
And so here we are this evening on a Friday. We are expecting the 14th ballot this evening. So Mr. McCarthy has been definitely put through the ringer this week. However, I would say a lot of even people that support you, Mayor, of course, as you know, have a lot of frustrations with, let's say, Washington and Mr. McCarthy, just kind of where he's at in his position, how long he's been there, is probably receiving a lot of the brunt of the blow. There is no doubt
that there's a legitimate issue, particularly given his closeness at one time to Paul Ryan, who is evil, like the devil, the guy who, if he allowed them to subpoena, we may never even have had the impeachment. And the guy now who sounds like some kind of liberal Democrat. In any event, McCarthy grew. McCarthy changed. McCarthy was willing to listen. McCarthy was willing to work with people on things that are necessary and important to us. And he's made commitments to people that we can trust. If someone like Jim Jordan trusts him, I trust him. You got to go with that. And given the concessions they've gotten about removal, I mean, if for some reason the guy is crazy and he double crosses you, you can get rid of him. But if you can get him and you can get him to do the things that we need, he can also bring along a little more of a coalition behind it. Haven't we grown? Haven't we grown kind of like in a mature way? Hasn't our movement grown?
Thanks for joining us, America's Mayor Live. We are expecting the House of Representatives, of course, to reconvene this evening at 10 p.m. Representative McCarthy he won over a major block of the holdouts, as they're being labeled, today. 6 members remain no vote. He needs at least 2 of those, as the mayor has talked about this.
But I think the point we should make about the ones who negotiated with him. So what would it be? He's got 6 left, so he won over 14, right? Yeah, it was 20. He got 14 of them to come over. it was all for important things. So when you look at it and you see what they got, it's very impressive. It's extremely impressive. These are things that we haven't been able to get in 20 years. I mean, to go back to the one vote to put on the floor removal of the speaker when Pelosi, what did she made it 5 so that she could be dictator Pelosi? I mean, it's been that way since time immemorial. Speaker Rayburn was 1 vote. What, for her it has to be 5? Why? Because she was worried about the communists in her party. She really shouldn't be, because she caved into them all the time. I mean, I don't know what it is she could have done that had been more left wing than AOC would have done. I mean, she did everything AOC wanted. I mean, is it possible for them to spend more money than they're spending? I mean, I don't even think we have the printing machines left to print the money. We're running out. I think Biden can no longer raise the budget for a while because we'd have to go buy more printing machines.
And I think a lot of our voters, Mayor, are at a place where they want to see a full investigation of what took place 2 years ago today, January 6th. And when we say a full investigation, people want all the videotapes released, all of the documents, and they want to see a real effort, not just check the box, we'll put a name on a committee, go through a few things, and then move on. People want.
So then let's have a victory rally for our 20 people who got that for us. Let's have a victory rally for us, because they have gotten that for us. Now, whether McCarthy would have done it, not done it, they now can hold his feet to the fire, and he's going to have to do it.
And they want to see,
And now I believe he would have done it, but what does it matter if he would or if he wouldn't? And he does do it. They have gotten the commitment that he's going to do it. That's a terrific commitment.
Another, other issues such as Ukraine. I think some of our voters, it's not that they don't care about protecting freedom and these sorts of things, but they see they look at it as reckless spending with zero accountability. You know this more than anybody. What happens with that money? Will Mr. McCarthy? As far as I can tell, and I've listened to McCarthy on Ukraine, he has a very, very sensible position on Ukraine. We have to defend Ukraine. We have to defeat Putin. We can't let Putin expand. That also would be too beneficial for China if that happened. But we also just can't give money to Ukraine because it's a crooked country. And it should be given with accountability and with methods of following up the expenditure of the money. And it is not. The Biden administration doesn't even know what I'm talking about when I say that. They just give away money. They don't know. The accountability doesn't fit into either their political ideology or into the crookedness of their way of life. I mean, it steeps over into government when you are as crooked as they are. Just think of all the corruption that's gone on between Ukraine and Biden. Not as much as China, but quite a bit. Zelensky knows what a crook Biden is. I mean, you watch them talk to each other or look at. I just say to myself, he's got twice the file I have, and if he's got twice the file I have, man, he knows where the offshore bank accounts are that the woman wanted to give to us, but Barr would never go find. In fact, they left her in jeopardy of her life in 2020, in January and February of 2020, when the FBI agents and assistant U.S. attorneys I gave the information to with Bob Costello were very anxious to interview her, and it was closed down on the top. What's the top? The top is whatever that guy is who's head of the FBI. I don't know what to describe him as. Thanks for joining us.
I shouldn't, because if I do, it just would degrade me to have to say what I think of him. I mean, I love the FBI, and to watch what that man and what Comey did to it and Barr, what a phony. Barr is sitting there defending the president, holding the hard drive in his hand, holding it back, concealing it. He's got all the evidence of all of Biden's crimes. I mean, I get accused of being a Russian agent, and he's got the hard drive and knows for sure that I'm not a Russian agent, but he doesn't give a damn if I get accused of being a Russian agent. The reputation of one American doesn't matter to him. Or Senator Johnson or Senator Grassley, maybe that should have mattered to him. Or the President of the United States, or what a two-faced. But that's why I say you got to look at this January 6th thing very carefully. These are the same people who have lied to you and lied to you and lied to you and lied to you. And it's the same people on the other side who are telling you the opposite. And so far, they've been telling you the truth about everything.
Thanks for joining us on America's Mayor Live with America's Mayor Rudy Giuliani, the fastest hour on the internet. Of course, the mayor has had a lot of really good podcasts recently. We are breaking records tonight, Mayor. We may have hit an all-time high in our chat, our live chat. So a number of factors probably play into that with all the news going on, and of course how excited everybody is to be with the mayor here in 2023 for what will be an exciting year. You can go to rudygiulianics.com. That's rudygiulianics.com. And what does the CS stand for?
Common sense. And the podcast on who is John Sullivan is a must for the anniversary of January 6th. You need to know who John Sullivan is, and I'm going to tell you, if you know who John Sullivan is, you know that January 6th hoax is exactly the same as the Russian collusion with regard to what they wanted to do to Donald Trump. I'm not justifying what the people who violated the law did, but frankly, what the Democrat conspirators did with it is worse. Go find out who John Sullivan is and you'll see what I mean. So we have also a podcast that I'm going to complete when we finish here. And we went to Animal Kingdom, Animal Adventure.
Animal Adventure and Rescue Safari.
And Rescue
Adventure
Safari
is spelled ED Venture,
Yeah,
right? So
education, right.
Education.
And I'm telling you, that's between Boca and Palm Beach, kind of to the west, and great open land. And I just had a wonderful time, believe it or not, with kangaroos. Great time with camels. And we filmed a lot of it, a lot of my interaction with monkeys. And boy, it's fabulous. It's fabulous. Did you know that when a kangaroo, a female, kangaroos are still male and female. They're binary. They haven't been brainwashed yet by the communists. And so when the female kangaroos give birth quite a bit, and when they become pregnant, the first thing that forms is like I don't know what it looks like. I don't know how to describe it. An egg or a like a little round crystalline ball. Well, that's the zygote, or maybe even the embryo. I don't know, but it's in one part of the kangaroo's body, right near the vagina, and then when the actual birth takes place, the little thing, the little marble or something, rolls along the fur, sticks to the fur of the mother, and it goes into the pouch. And there are 4 teats in the pouch, purpose. And it goes directly to the one for the newborn. Now, there may be one in there already who was born 4 weeks earlier, like finishing up on a different one. And then there's one that the baby kangaroo comes to after they come out of the pouch, but they back for more feeding with their mom. But she can basically do 2, 3, 4 at a time. Although when the new one comes in, the rest get held up. They put like on hold for a while, so that the new one gets all the nutrients and the milk and the right milk. It's beautifully done. I mean, and I had been to Australia 7, 8 times, so I know Australia pretty well. And I like kangaroos, but I hadn't ever realized how gentle and sweet the female kangaroos are. The male kangaroo is a little different because they fight each other for dominance, and they're constantly practicing. And their practicing can, scratch the hell out of you. Or, I mean, a female kangaroo will just come up to you and want to be petted and act like a dog almost. But a male kangaroo is going to want to play with you. And playing with you means fighting. He's always practicing fighting because he's constantly fighting for dominance with the other male kangaroos. The male kangaroo, of course, impregnates. He's in charge of a group of females. Anybody else that comes along, he kicks them out, and they have to go find other females. As soon as they become able to move around and fight, he starts training them how to fight. You can see training. It's funny teaching me how to box. So I want you to watch that one too. If you like animals, and I do, I think you're going to find very, very interesting. And the family is a wonderful family. One of them was Andrew's campaign manager when he ran for governor. They're very, very strong, enormously effective supporters of President Trump and me and Andrew and Republican causes. And they're a great family. It's a whole family operation. In fact, we're going to go to Mar-a-Lago with them tomorrow night and introduce them to President Trump, right, Ted?
I believe so, and maybe we'll take some of the.
I wonder if we could take a kangaroo. I wonder what the president would. I wonder how Melania would think if we brought a kangaroo.
Just walked in with with Duke. We're taking the male kangaroo.
I don't think I'd take that Duke guy. Did you see the muscles on that guy? The male kangaroo is a powerful looking animal. The guy's name is Duke, I think actually that used to be the nickname for John Wayne.
The Duke.
The Duke, yeah.
That's right.
I think that's why he got the name. But man, this guy.
There's a boxer, right? Put him up, or a Duke's, wasn't there?
Boxer? Yeah, he looks like he could take care of himself. Yeah. I only saw the other guy briefly.
Yeah.
But he didn't look to me. I think Duke.
Duke, king of that.
Well, they both have their own little whatever you call it, harems, I guess.
Group of female kangaroos.
But I think if Duke wanted to take over, and I think Duke could take over.
You'll want to check this out. It's quite.
It'll be up tomorrow.
Yes.
It'll be up on Saturday. We'll have it all ready. It's not very long. It's only about 30 minutes, so you can get through it real quick. But I mean, if you enjoy animals, this is a little bit different because I don't know, people don't pay much attention to kangaroos and camels, and they are quite interesting. And then, of course, the crazy mice. Man, they are wild and they are so smart.
Thanks for joining us. Comment below. We are breaking records across social media platforms. Comment below.
You talk a little, Ted, because I'm looking for something I want to play for them.
We are closely following the race for Speaker. Of course, Representative Kevin McCarthy of California has gone through 13 rounds of voting, is yet to reach the 218 vote threshold. However, he has closed the gap.
They're not counting now, right? So
they're not counting now.
So we don't know.
Oh, we won't know until later tonight, after 10 p.m. But in the latest votes, the latest rounds as of Friday, he did close the gap from. At one point, he was 18 votes shy of taking the position. Now he just needs 2 more. And closing that gap has
it's kind of hard. Right? It's kind of hard to believe he can't pick up 2 out of 6. Look, he had to pick up 14 of 20. Mm-hmm. That's a big job. Mm-hmm. 2 of 6 is a third.
Yes, and of course, by default, right? The last 6.
But of course, we know. I would say 1 is out of the question.
Mr. Gates would
So
probably have a hard time voting.
We really are talking 2 out of 5. Would you say that's right?
I think that's right.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know about that. I don't know how hard. I know Andy Biggs, and I know Andy Biggs is a very reasonable man. So I kind of have a feeling that Andy might be one of the 2.
And Mr. McCarthy and his team, they need to kind of
And
offer something for these 2 of the 5 individuals.
Well, I don't have
come
to
out as winners, right? They have to be able to appear and look, this is what we got.
Yeah, and it has to be something substantive.
Of course.
It can't be a bridge. It better not be a bridge, or they're gonna have a problem with me.
Comment below if you live in the tri-state area, the New York, New Jersey area, and let us know which bridge we should rename after Mayor Rudy Giuliani. If there's a bridge.
A bridge? Yeah, the bridge to nowhere. The bridge to nowhere.
For Mayor Giuliani.
Okay, I want you all to hear something now. I want you all to hear something. Please listen to this. I'm going to turn my microphone around so you can hear it really. In fact, I may even do something different, totally different. Did I take my speaker with me?
Yeah, with the speaker.
I think one of the problems that we have, and this is an issue I have with all of them in Washington, with all of them. I know how to do it. Okay, give me that. Okay, here goes. Let's see if this works, because you'll be able to hear it much better if I get this to work right.
The mayor is one of the most tech-savvy people you will meet, ladies and gentlemen.
Wait.
He oftentimes is tech support for the team.
Now, I'm not even going to introduce this. I just want you to listen, okay? concessions these people got, and let's see what Andy Biggs can get. They were good ones. They were good ones. They were reforms that reforms of the Pelosi corruption that were really important. The Pelosi changing it from a Democratic body into her dictatorship. I think people give it a little time. There's an Italian expression called pazienza. Pazienza, pazienza. Patience. Give it a little time. Don't get so excited. Pazienza. Isn't that a beautiful word? Pazienza. See what this? You know what this is? This is an organization that supports police, of course, right?
Well, that's it we have for tonight, Mayor. You want to send everyone off with a closing message?
I do. I want you all this weekend to listen tonight at 10. I think you know what's going to happen, and I want you to have faith and confidence that God is watching over this country. And I want you to think about, because last night we had the honor of having Monsignor Placcaron with us, and we spent a good deal of time talking about God. I want you to think about that horrible day at the beginning of the week, beginning of the week, when Damar Hamlin was dead. He was. And by the miracle of modern science and by the will of God, he was brought back to life. And his first statement, when he could make a statement, is, did we win? But what I want you to remember is that without prompting, without a public address announcer telling anybody anything, they all got around him, all these gigantic players, these tough guys, these toughest people we got. They fell down on their knees and they prayed to the Supreme Being. If they had organized that at the beginning of the game, the NFL would have banned it as being a violation of some ridiculous interpretation of the Constitution, which is really a communist infiltration of our country to get rid of God. But they didn't have a chance to, because people went with their natural instincts. People who I'm sure are very religious, people who aren't, people who maybe haven't thought of God in a long time. But it was immediate. It was instantaneous. Nobody had to tell them. Maybe God emerges from inside you, huh? Maybe you can't run away from God. I know the try, and I know, unfortunately, a lot of the Democrats now have embraced Marxism, but boy, nobody was escaping God that night. So I sure hope the young man survives. He's a good man. I think he is. And I want to thank him because his dying showed America the power of God. Or maybe God showed us the power of God. Just go look at that picture and tell yourself there is no God. God bless America. And please, please, please say my little prayer. Say, thank you, God, that I'm in America.